Beautiful weather for now as we get game 1 of 2 underway early, and that one socked from Lassiter into the gap, past Kramer to the fence. And Lassiter is going to begin the game with a double.
Best start you could have asked for if you're Ole Miss. Lassiter, first pitch hunting, jumps all over the offering from Linestock, which was right down the middle, didn't drop, didn't move.
Well, Lassiter had 3 hits in the 11-inning game last Friday and wastes little time getting not just a hit, but a double to begin the game. Brings up Jaden Pone. Umpires had a quick conversation. Scott Mayer behind the plate. Everybody's on the same page. Liz Hammerschmidt at first. Dustin Douglas umpires at third. Pone has hit in 11 straight. 16 hits in that stretch, all singles. More of a small ball component. She's certainly drawing the attention of the corners who are playing in.
Arkansas really pulling in that defense, trying to make sure they can get an out because Pone has a ton of speed at the plate.
There's a bunt. It's actually going to spin backwards. It was a foot in front of the plate and then rolled right back over the dish into the glove of Miller.
Infield's going to play very soft. There's been a lot of water sprayed on this field. You can see by the coloration that the dirt has a lot of that moisture in it. So anything that's going to be around the plate in those darker areas is going to die. It's not going to roll as far out into the field.
And you see Gamble never hesitant to creep way in, and that one's lined to the left for a base hit. Lassiter to third. She'll hold on a base hit from Pone. What a beginning for the Rebels.
Ole Miss coming out looking like an entirely different team offensively. They have an aggressive approach. They are going after pitches early in the count, and that time Pone benefited from the fact that Arkansas's defense was drawn in because it was right over the head of Lauren Kamenzen at short.
So again, for Coach Traxel, 5 wins in conference play, but they took 2 out of 3 from Auburn. They won their last 2, scoring 11 runs in those games. Maybe a little bit of confidence coming on the road and what may not be a must-win game or series, but it does feel really important.
Ole Miss knows exactly what they're playing for. Paige Smith said it best, the graduate senior, she wants to keep her career going. Everyone's aware of the fact that they're in danger of potentially missing the NCAA tournament.
Now, everybody makes the SEC tournament, so that's not the problem.
Right.
The 12 and 13 seeds would play on Tuesday. The winner would then play the 5 seed, which right now would be Georgia. Pitches high to Smith, who has 5 home runs.
It just goes to speak to the depth of the conference when Georgia, who has been ranked in the top 15 for the majority of the season, is 5th in the conference standings.
Yeah, it's a juggernaut, to say the least. That's up the middle, maybe a chance for a double play. Arkansas turns a lot of those. 25 on the year, more than any team in the SEC. But Lassiter scores, and the Rebs are on the board in the top of the first inning.
Ole Miss just manufacturing runs, back-to-back hits. Kylie Halverson positioned in the perfect spot right up the middle, got the easy ground ball, had the presence of mind to step on the bag, and so now Arkansas takes a little breather, sigh of relief. You can work with the bases loaded, or bases empty rather, to try and get out of the inning.
This is Furbush. 9 homers, 40 runs batted in. Ansley Furbush, might see her in the circle, certainly in the lineup.
Furbush is just one of those players that's so versatile, and you find a place for her to play because her bat this year has been just that good.
Big hack, came up empty.
Those are 2 really good drop balls there from Morgan Linestock. A really good view coming in from center field of just how much that ball falls off the table as it's getting to the plate.
Two-strike pitch, bends down and out. Wind really not a factor. That's somewhat rare here at Bogle Park. Linestock, though, had given up a run in this inning. Remember, Dorian, she had gone 23 1/3 innings without giving up an earned run going back to April the 13th. That's cut and a missed. Miller's going to have to complete the strikeout with a throw to first. And the inning ends, so a couple of hits and a run for the Rebels. Johnson at short. Reagan Johnson batting .382. fact, she's second in the SEC in base hits, only behind Kendra Falby. We've talked a little bit about Reagan Johnson, Dorian. She does not walk a lot, 11 all season, but try this one on for size. She's walked 6 times in the last 5 games, which is more than she walked the entirety of the season before these last 5 games.
You're right. When we were here doing the game against Alabama, she hadn't walked yet in conference play.
Why walk when you can get a base hit as she pokes one out to left?
But in my opinion, those two things go back to back because Johnson taking those walks means that she's seeing the ball better all the way into the strike zone. And you can see that in the way that she's barreling up the ball inside the box. That ball was coming in on the hands. She does a nice job of pulling the hands inside and shooting that ball just over the 5-6 hole into shallow left field.
Nia Carter coming off a 3-hit game at UCA midweek. Courtney Deifel saying maybe she's playing her best ball of the year. And you were on the call of that game down in Conway. And the Razorbacks had some problems against UCA in recent years, but not this week.
No, I would agree with Coach Deifel's assessment. I think this is the best that Nia Carter has been playing all season long. And I think it's a big reason why you're seeing those offensive numbers trending up lately.
Nia's another one that doesn't walk much, just 5 times this year. Great back control, likes to put the ball in play. And Arkansas playing from behind right out of the gates. Johnson's going to run. The throw to second was close, and she's safe. Now, I was just getting ready to say Reagan Johnson had been perfect this year and in her career. The last 2 times she had tried to steal, she was erased.
Johnson got a great jump on that ball. Look at when she leaves. It's going to be tough to see from that angle because, well, actually they're going to say that she left early. The first base umpire, in that view, it was very clear to see, had the hand out for a dead ball out. So they're going to call Reagan Johnson out for leaving first early.
Well, indeed. And that's part of what these new rules have done. It's made it really tough for those base stealers to try and get that extra break.
And that was going to be my point about Johnson being erased the last 2 times she stole. That element of stealing bases has kind of gone away this season.
Not only that, but Brady has just been gunning down runners all season with what she's done behind the plate. I think this is her 14th.
So that's another look. What you're looking for is the runner leaving at the time the ball was pitched. It was tough to tell from that angle because it's so far wide. But batters are cutting it, or runners are cutting it so slim now.
And that's ball 4, and almost hit Carter, but that makes losing the base runner even more costly. You mentioned that Sparks has had some problems with walks, maybe not in her last outing against Auburn, but nonetheless, there's a free pass.
Well, the freebies have been an issue for the Ole Miss staff all season long. They come into this weekend, they have given up the most in the league, 182 walks issued this season.
Here's Bree Ellis, 14 home runs, 45 knocked in. Last home run came against Alabama in the first inning on April the 21st. Fifth in the conference in homers, but she's only 3 behind Jada Kearney of Georgia.
There's so much power and depth across the conference. We talked about that in terms of the records. The same goes for the ability to hit home runs, the pitching. There are so many good players in this league, top to bottom.
Pitch is down and out. Hard on the ground to short, maybe a chance for 2. A little bit of a bobble by De Leon on the flip from Starr, so no chance to get Ellis at first. But the Rebels do get their second out.
And that's the most important part of a ball up the middle on the ground. You have to erase the leadoff runner. So Ole Miss does what they need to do. Starr gets it over to De Leon. Would have loved to have 2, but at least you have the 1. Hard on the ground, almost right in the tracks of Starr. Little underhand flip. In my opinion, it's a little bit far away to do the underhand toss. Probably should have given it a little sidearm, would have gotten to second quicker.
Kylie Halverson has her batting average up over 300. One of the seniors honored this weekend. 8 long balls, 30 knocked in. A couple of runs batted in against UCA on Tuesday in Conway. Sparks really trying to work off that outside corner.
Well, that's where Sparks wants to live. She really wants to ride that outside, try and force Arkansas to go to the opposite field, maybe pull around, get a weak ground ball to the left side of the field. But so far, the Razorbacks aren't biting, and it's not being called a strike.
2-0 pitch in the air, down the line and right. Chasing is McKay, and it's a foul ball.
And so that's the result of the pitch before. Sparks 2-0, trying to work off that outside corner. She brought it in about 3 inches furthermore on the plate. Halverson lets it travel back, just still a little bit off the end of the bat, but you can see the difference between what's a ball and when it's in the strike zone, the kind of swing that Halverson just got on it.
Good pitch for a strike on that outside corner.
Off speed, and the outside corner is a great place for that because it's the hardest part of the plate to adjust to an off speed. You already have to let a ball there travel. You have to be even more patient when it's an off speed.
Sparks trying to get out of this first and maintain this 1-run lead for the Rebels. Softly into center for a base hit. So Halverson able to pick up the single, her 41st hit of the year.
Such a good 2-strike approach there from Halverson. You said soft single, not trying to do too much. I love that approach. You don't try to get anything big. Ball right down the heart of the plate. Halverson stays in that back leg. She's a little bit out in front with her hands, but barrels it up well enough to still shoot the gap and keep the inning alive.
Quick conversation in the circle. Here's Hannah Gamble, another one of the seniors honored this weekend. See the 11 home runs. Liddy Malkin has the program's all-time record with 50. Danielle Gibson at 48.
And the program has been blessed with some really talented home run hitters over the last 3 or 4 seasons.
Arkansas's 19 homers behind their number from a year ago. I probably would have lost that bet. Now there's time. There's still a SEC tournament, regionals. Who knows how long Arkansas might be able to play. I would say, though, this softball team has been involved in a lot of these 2-1, 3-2 games. To their credit, they found a way to win the lower scoring, close games. I think there's a certain calm or confidence that comes when you're winning games by a run or two, because every weekend when it's tough and tight, nothing is new.
Absolutely, I agree. As a player, when you consistently win those 1-run ball games, especially if it's late in games, you just have that confidence because it's like, hey, we've been here before. We can do this.
2-1 to Gamble. Lifted to left. Does this ball have enough carry? It does not. Pone was reaching for the wall, had enough room to make the grab and end the inning. So the Razorbacks lost a runner on the bases and strand 2 more.
Their season and in the tournament.
It doesn't take long when you experience success. You want it to continue. De Leon, one of the many California natives on this roster, the second baseman, a couple of home runs. 3 for 10 in that Auburn series, got a hit in all 3. When you look at Ole Miss at 5-16, again, that doesn't sound right. I mean, they're still on the verge of being able to control their destiny to getting into the NCAA tournament. But they did take 2 out of 3 at LSU, and they won 2 out of 3 last weekend, despite losing an 11-inning game that, by the way, kept Arkansas's linear baseball game from ever seeing the light of day.
I did see snippets where they said that game was going on.
It was going on,
we
all
would
right.
get there. They never did. But the series, you and I were talking before the broadcast, that's one of the anomalies of this conference is the fact that it's so good. Talk about
strike
good,
three.
though. Yeah, that's a good change up there from Linestock. But the conference is so good, and then you have those weekends where the lowest team can go and knock off the top team. It's just one of those things that happens as Linestock pulls the string on the changeup. And you can tell by the body language there from Linestock. When she gives you that little extra pump at the end, she's feeling good.
Well, facing the catcher, Lexi Brady, who has 13 home runs. This might be a fun matchup if she would bounce out to Halverson at second. It's rare to have two Sioux Falls, South Dakota natives in the same SEC series. They've known each other for a long time. The families are friends. They coach in the same youth organization. They didn't play at the same high school. But the softball community in Sioux Falls might be a little bit intimate, might be a little bit small, but you've got two of their best going head-to-head.
That's really great representation for Sioux Falls. For so long when I was coming up, it was thought that the best players were only playing in California, Texas, and Florida. And the mindset was if you're not out of those three states, you're not going to get recruited by big schools. You don't have a shot for a Power 5. And I think both Halverson and Brady are proof that that is not the case. There are great players across this country.
You're good enough, somebody will find you.
Exactly. Social media has helped with that tremendously.
I would agree. 3-0 pitch in there for a strike. Brady was also a power lifter in high school and threw the shot put and discus. So she didn't mess around.
No, you want to talk about something that you don't think about in terms of transitioning to softball power, but the rotational power that you have from those absolutely transfers to hitting, which is why she's one of the best hitters in this league.
And power hitters. Although that one dropped so far, it bounced, and Brady will walk. Reach with one out in the second inning. And Delaney Rummel next in, an Illinois transfer, 4 years with the Illini. Getting her one season here in the SEC. Arkansas turned a double play in the first, but that's how the Rebels got their run across for this 1-0 advantage. You know, just to scratch out a run with a double and a single against Linestock, who had not given up a run, an earned run in 23 1/3 innings, was huge. And despite a record north of 500 overall, Ole Miss again in their SEC only games hitting .213 with the 11 homers in those 21 games. So runs have not been easy to come by. They found the offense in those last two against Auburn. It maybe is carried over to today against a really good pitcher. And Linestock seems to be kind of fighting her control just a bit.
She hasn't looked as sharp as she has over this stretch over the last 3 weeks. The key to her in keeping those earned runs and those runs in general down, because she'd only given up 2 during that stretch, she was limiting the hits and limiting the walks. She'd only given up a total of 2 walks.
She went for that ground ball, and then Kamenson had to hurry and never did get it cleanly. And a couple of runners on base with a walk, and however they scored that one.
Well, it should be an E6, and indeed it does say on the board as an error. This is a slow roll ball. It's one of the most difficult as a fielder. Kamenson is charging, but she picks the head up to see where Rummel is down the line in relation to where she's fielding the ball. As a fielder, you have to remember that you can throw the ball faster than anyone can run, so you just have to make sure you look it into the glove and deliver the best throw you can.
Jamie McKay, the right fielder, next in. She has 3 home runs on the year. Batting 8th in this Ole Miss lineup, but ball to the gap could really do some damage. Brady at second, Rummel at first. This was a young lady who played only a handful of softball games, and by a handful, I mean you might only need one hand to count them up, because she was a baseball player. She played on the 2019 USA Women's Baseball team. And I got to believe going from overhand breaking balls going to underhand with rise balls, it is a transition.
It definitely is. I think about all the times where I've seen men come in and tried to hit fastball pitching, having never seen it before, and failing. And so it's definitely an adjustment period.
Linestock needs to make a pitch. That one fouled at the plate.
That's a good one from Linestock. Inner part of the plate break action off the handle of the bat. But I would agree with you, Brett. Line stock doesn't look particularly sharp to start. The Arkansas defense doesn't look particularly sharp to start. And we haven't really talked about the change in the schedule and how that just changes the mindset sometimes of how you come out to start a game.
Because the recipe for Arkansas has featured incredible defense, the best fielding percentage in the SEC, one of the best in the country, and great pitching. Well, Ole Miss scratched across the run of the first, and now a couple of base runners, a chance to do some damage in the second.
You don't typically think as a player that a 3:30 start versus a 6 o'clock start would make a difference, but sometimes it just takes you out of your rhythm.
That was a good pitch. McKay just did make contact. Was that more the change than the drop?
That was definitely a change, and it was one of the biggest differentials in speed that I have seen from line stock this year. Typically, her off speed is going to sit between 8 and 10 miles an hour. Watch how this ball just floats in. And just McKay did a great job hanging.
That one's going to get by Miller, and the runners will move up. That's been one area for Morgan. She's had 13 wild pitches this year, and it looked like one that maybe Miller could have knocked down, but that takes away a possibility.
Difference what happened last year against Missouri and said we don't want history to repeat itself.
Arkansas, she said, laid an egg
Yep.
last year against Mizzou in that final regular season series. Kenneth's gone full to McKay. And that's high. That's ball 4. That's 2 walks in error in either a wild pitch or pass ball this inning. We tell you, but Stat Broadcast is not working today.
Got to do it old school.
Stat Broadcast thought this was going to be a 6 o'clock game, too, as did the ESPN app and everything else.
Well, at least you and I got the memo. We're here.
We did.
Well, the one thing that this does do for Arkansas's defense in terms of walking McKay is it sets up a force at the plate. You now have a play at any bag, and sometimes as a fielder this actually takes a little bit of the pressure off.
This is Annie Orman. We saw both Matt Michael, assistant head coach Jamie Traxel, taking out their lineup cards with the umpires, and they were both scratching out names, and we were wondering what's going on. We had Starr in the original lineup. One. Fouled at the plate again. Those pitches she's run in, those hitters, those right-handed batters have just knocked them right off their kneecaps or right down at the plate.
It means her drop ball is effective. When line stock is on the inner half of the plate, that ball is breaking in and down. And so even if you make contact as a righty, you're going to make it off the handle, which means it's either going to go dribble or it's going to go off your shins.
Delayed swing by Orman, able to make contact.
Another off speed there from line stock. Nice fight there from Orman. Just as a batter, when you recognize the change out of the hand, if it's not something that you feel like you can drive, you're trying to foul it off and live to see another pitch, a la Derek Jeter for the Yankees for all those years.
Soft pop-up back to the screen again, so Orman's hanging tough.
Right now what Ole Miss is doing is they are making line stock work. They're seeing a lot of pitches. They've already run the pitch count up. We're getting close to 40, and we're not even, 2 full innings in. It's still 1 1/3 on line stock score sheet.
That was down and out. Good take.
And line stock not getting Orman to bite. 2-2, great hitters count here.
It was a pass ball earlier on Miller. Line stock trying to get the K, and she had to work to get that strikeout.
Work is right, but line stock coming back with one of the best sequences of the inning. Goes to her bread and butter pitch. It's a drop ball, late break. Starts about belt high. This isn't the big break. It's just enough, though, to miss the barrel of Orman's bat. Gets her swinging through. That's a big second out for Arkansas.
Sure is. And this is Lassiter back to the top of the lineup. Lassiter had a double into the gap on the first pitch of the game and scored. And that one floats over the outside corner for a called strike.
Now, Linestock does have the capability to work that change in on any count when she's feeling good, and you can see she's starting to mix it in a little bit. Doesn't have her best stuff today, but good pitchers figure out how to win when they don't have their best.
This is pitch number 42, just trying to get out of this inning, and she got a wild wave and a miss from Lassiter.
And back-to-back off speeds. Almost looks like Brianna Lopez from Ole Miss, who's the changeup master. Right now, Linestock really changing up her sequencing.
What does she want to do? 0-2. Pitch popped up out of play to the right. Lassiter, coming out of high school, was in the top 20 overall in her class. She's been a big-time contributor, batting at the top of the lineup. Base hit here, could plate 2 more. Good stop by Miller.
Yeah, better stop from Miller. Knew it was a drop ball. It was in the right place. Courtney Deifel talks about it all the time. The key to catching your pitchers is knowing their misses. That's what allows you to be in the proper position when that ball's in the dirt.
Linestock ready. Here's a 1-2. Tap foul again. Boy, Morgan has been such a workhorse, oftentimes going on Friday and Sunday. With a doubleheader today and 1 game tomorrow, that impacts you immediately in how you want to utilize these pitchers. But she's using, feels like, a bulk of her pitches in these first 2 innings. See the traffic on the bases. Here's the 1-2. Stopped again by Miller. And it feels like you're starting to see these Ole Miss hitters with the bulk of pitches they've seen get a little bit comfortable on some of these.
Ole Miss definitely looks comfortable in the box. Lassiter especially. A lot of confidence coming off that leadoff double. They're not expanding the zone.
Good point. 2-2 to Lassiter. Driven to right field. Carter over, and she'll make the catch. I thought Johnson was.
He's in play.
There's Kennedy Miller. Homer at UCA midweek. Was her first since March 16th.
An absolute laser, I can tell you.
Her .370 batting average, 10th best in the SEC. Now, of course, she hit a home run that was then overruled in between that.
Right.
Because Nia Carter left first early, so she'd probably remind us of that. But
we can have that entire conversation again.
We might. We've got time.
We do.
It was good for her to get that home run Tuesday against UCA. Grounds this one towards short. Fielded by Starr. Throws out Miller to begin the bottom of the second inning.
Starr fielding her position well. The key to that play as a shortstop is Starr is moving forward. She's not allowing the ball to get to her, taking away valuable time by moving forward, and the nice strong throw to get Miller over at first.
Good defensive shortstop. Here's Reagan Kramer. She went hitless over the weekend at LSU when Arkansas took 2 out of 3 in the series. And that pitch in there for strike 1. In fact, we talk about Arkansas winning all these road series, and we'll jump more into this later on. Winning 15 of 16 SEC road series, quite frankly, is amazing. What they've done all year, regardless if it's home or away, they seem to win that first game. They're 6-1 in series openers. Oftentimes, it's set up maybe a loss in game 2 and then a chance to win, oftentimes doing just that in game 3. But Arkansas has been able to find a way to win those first games, those Friday games.
The first game is everything. That lone loss to Mississippi State, they came back and won game 2 before dropping game 3. It's the only series that they've lost this year. But if you put yourself in the driver's seat by winning game 1, that just gives you talk about the confidence and how much of a mental sport this is, how much momentum factors in. That's why that first game is so crucial.
And I think you could feel confident going kind of all in on your pitching in game 1, because if we win game 1, no matter what we have to utilize from resource standpoint, and that's a fly ball to Pone and shallow left, and she'll make the catch for the second out. Then you feel like, all right, now we just need to win one of the next 2 games to be able to come out of here with a series victory.
Exactly. And the thing is, we already kind of touched on it with Linestock running out there on Friday and Sunday. Sundays is always a little bit of a crapshoot because a lot of times you're already seeing pitchers that you've already seen throughout the weekend. So if you can get that game 1 under your belt, it gives you just that little bit of a buffer.
Yeah, no doubt. Here's Hedgecock. Hedgecock batting 8th, takes strike 1. 8 homers. 4 homers, I should say, in the season. Doubleheaders aren't a lot of fun to begin with, and that one's fouled back. But then when you're compressing 3 games into 2 days, for me, coaches always need something to worry about. That would be what would drive me, because you're trying to figure out, how can we win one of these 2 games at worst today, have a chance to win. You can't utilize probably the same volume of pitchers today, maybe tomorrow, without a day of rest. There's a chopper towards third. Big hop for Rummel. She's going to throw out Hedgecott. And Arkansas, quietly done in the 7th. Had really quality at bat so far. They're making line stock work. What was the approach facing her coming into this game?
I thought Daniel did a really good job in our prep. We kind of have our game plan. Everyone's a little bit different with what their strength is going into the box. But I like where we're at right now and putting pressure on them, putting good quality swings in play, making them make some plays for sure.
Coach, to build on that, there's been traffic on the bases both innings. You left the bases loaded last inning. What is the key to getting that timely hit and making the most of those opportunities?
Yeah, I just think, understanding what you're going after, too. So she's, I think, thrown, we kind of have the count on the changeups, and it's just trusting it, because even the kids are like, it's quick, but, we're on, we're fine. We're not, I think we just not get sped up, let the ball come out, and then be inside the ball. So we're a little bit across it, a little bit around it. Nothing good happens on the outside of the ball. So I think we just got to stay balanced, stay inside the ball, try to shoot it the other direction, and continue to make them make some plays.
Hey, Coach, appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys. Hotty toddy.
Indeed. Busy day of softball for Coach Draxel. Nothing good happens on the outside of the ball. Is that what she said? I like that.
She is. I like that phrasing, too, and it makes so much sense because we talk about barreling up. And so that's a really good visual representation of where you don't want to be talking about coming around the ball or pulling off the back side of the ball. You want to be going through the middle to the bottom half of the ball when you're really locked in and swinging it well.
Well, Jaden Pone has been swinging the bat well. Again, she's singled in the first, so she's hit in 12 straight games. She's a Longwood transfer, had a couple of years at Longwood, and all she did in her first year was be named the Big South Freshman of the Year with 79 hits. It set the program record. Then she comes back last year, the next season, and she is the Player of the Year, hitting .411.
Played a lot of games against Longwood in my career, right around Virginia Tech.
Liner to short, dropped by Cammonson. The throw is high, and Pone is going to be safe. So Cammonson had a chance to catch it. I still thought she had a chance to get the speedy Pone, but her throw was elevated. And Bree Ellis had to jump up to glove it, and Pone reaches.
They're going to give it a hit, and I agree. This ball hit on the money from Pone. It's a sinking liner, which are the hardest ones to catch. Cammonson had to go to the backside, and even a strong throw I don't think would have gotten her.
Pone had 20 hits in April, and she reached base safely in all 16 games she played. So she's been on base 2 more times today. And here's a bunt from Paige Smith, the 3-hole hitter, willing to give up an out to push Pone into scoring position. And there's Gamble coming all the way down the line to make that play.
Smith, the epitome of a team player doing what needs to be done in the 3-hole, but Hannah Gamble was all over it, bare hands it. Hannah Gamble plays so close to the batter. Sometimes it makes me nervous as a former third baseman watching, but she is one of the most aggressive defensive third basemen I've seen in a very long time.
So Smith, if she plays every game this weekend, and I got to believe she will set the all-time Ole Miss record for most games played, and she's batting 3-hole. She's willing to sacrifice her teammate into scoring position for Furbush, who struck out back in the first. She got her 100th career hit last weekend against Auburn. To Dansley. I mean, she could almost shake hands with Kennedy Miller.
And look when she starts, too. As soon as Smith squares, Gamble doesn't waste any time. She's already moving in. That gives her and buys her some time to slow herself down a little bit as she's fielding and deliver that good throw.
Ground ball into the hole. Backhanded by Cammonson. She'll plant. She'll throw. Good play. That's an out. Back to third. Close, but safe. Pone able to advance. Really nice effort by Cammonson, though, to get the second out of the inning.
Great play from Cammonson. That ball's deep in the hole. The arm strength that you have to make that throw. And she did a nice job because she also made sure that Pone had to wait and be honest a little bit. Watch all the way that Cammonson has to track this. That ball is deep in the hole. Gamble can't go for it. Strong throw over to first, and then Ellis heads up play, delivers a strike. Just great base running there from Pone.
Angelina De Leon bats, so Ole Miss has stranded 3 already. They have another runner at third base, and De Leon, who struck out looking to begin last inning, ready to hit again. This feels like kind of an important batter or time in this game for Ole Miss. And the count's now 0-2.
And here I was thinking it feels important for Arkansas because the longer you let Ole Miss hang around, the more likely they are to finally capitalize on their opportunities.
Leinstock has 3 strikeouts. Updating. She now has number 4 and able to work around that infield single to begin the inning. 3 games in 2 days, the uniqueness of that. How does that impact how you want to use your pitching today? Do you go all in, just trying to win these games and not worry about tomorrow yet?
I think we're just going all in on trying to win this first one and taking it one game at a time. And so we have our order. We're just going to work through it as we need to.
Coach, you've been able to get some good swings on the ball, but what is the biggest adjustment you want to see from your hitters going up the second time through the order against Sparks?
Mostly just learn from each other and learn from your at-bats of when we go, let's go for it. I think we're chasing a little bit. I think we're just kind of making easy outs and hitters count. So just we're working into hitters counts, and let's take advantage of it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. We'll pick.
Indeed. There she goes. Kammensen, Johnson, and Carter, 9-1-2, due up here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Grace Sparks gave up a hit to the first batter she faced, Reagan Johnson, but has just given up 1 more single, 1 walk since. Retired 4 in a row. Kammensen batting 136, was 0 for 8 at LSU, but has kind of seen more playing time as of late. Remember, we were here a couple of weeks ago when Arkansas decided they wanted to play 9 innings with Alabama, but it was Kammensen who had the game-winning hit in the bottom of the 9th with a sharp single to center.
Had the game-winning walk-off hit. She also made some tremendous defensive plays.
Did.
And that really, for me, was kind of the epitome of what Lauren Kammensen brings in the 8-hole and while she's playing in the field, or the 9-hole, rather.
Little dribbler to third. Rummel will field and slings one to first to retire Kammensen for the first out.
That play was the epitome of what Courtney Deifel was just talking about in terms of making swings and hitters counts and not making quality contact. That ball is on the outer part of the plate. Kammensen comes around the outside of the ball, uses that end barrel of the bat, and it ends up being a weak tapper over to third base.
Reagan Johnson got hit number 66 on the season, but then was out at second base, ruled that she left early on a stolen base attempt. Second again in the conference in hits. And 7th in batting average. Takes one down and in, a ball, then a strike. You know, it's an Arkansas team, Dorian, that even though they're 4th right now in the conference standings, they're 7th in batting average, they're 7th in slug, they're 10th in on base, they're 6th in homers. It shows you the importance of what pitching has meant to them this year, pitching and defense. As Johnson taps one softly to second, she'll make it close, but she's out and there's 2 gone. Coming into this year, I think question mark was the pitching, and everybody thought the team would really hit. In some senses, those roles at times have been a little bit reversed.
Arkansas has the 3rd best ERA in the conference this year behind Tennessee and South Carolina. And Courtney Deifel said the pitching staff was a little bit offended by the fact that the question mark was whether or not they could live up to the standard that's been set the last few years. And they really challenged the pitching staff this season.
Carter with another dribbler to second. That is 3 soft ground ball outs. Leinstock's been really good at times this year, and I think, Dorian, we haven't probably talked enough about her story. She is 95% deaf. So often in college sports, it's about covering your mouth so that people can't read your lips. Well, you can't do that with Morgan. And, you know, just the communication behind her on bunts and pop-ups and whatnot takes on an entirely different dimension. As Brady's going to swing at that one. There's a lot of pointing on balls that might be put in play. And, you know, as far as the crowd, she doesn't hear it.
It takes a lot of adjustment as a fielder to play behind a pitcher that can't hear you because you're so used to communicating with your mouth instead of with your hands or any other physical attribute. But, you know, Leinstock, Courtney Deifel didn't really know what she was getting in Morgan Leinstock when she transferred over from Southern Miss, but she has been such a fiery competitor, such a key component of this squad. And You know, Linestock actually learned how to pitch by watching former Washington pitcher Caitlin Inglesby, who is 80% deaf.
I found that interesting, and now the count 2-2. Obviously, you try and emulate or identify with people that have similar situations as you do.
And where's the cochlear implant behind the ear? That's why there's the black band. Give it a little extra protection out in the field.
The 2-2 pitch in there for strike 3. Brady has K'd more than anybody in the league. And for Morgan Linestock, she gets her 5th K. So the crowd's cheering right now. She doesn't know what's going on. Teams have tried to heckle her on the road by cheering, and as Courtney said, hey, good luck, right? She doesn't hear it. But even the softball chatter, it's like, hey, let's go and whatnot. And Courtney said from time to time I'll find myself going hoarse, encouraging her. And why am I doing that? Because she can't hear me.
But it's in your nature as a coach and as a teammate to vocally encourage. And even though Linestock can't hear, she reads lips and she can read body language. So yes, she may not understand that or may not hear the fans cheering for her, but she can see when they wave the palms. She knows, trust me, she knows when she's on.
Rummel's going to take one for a strike over the outside corner. You know, Deifel did say she doesn't want to be identified only because of this. I mean, but there is an inspiration, I got to believe. There's probably other young women out there, young girls, who have a similar challenge that want to play sports or softball that might be looking up to Morgan Linestock right now with what she's able to do. And there's a ground ball to Halverson, and she'll retire Rummel for the second out.
I would agree with that sentiment in terms of the younger generation looking up to what's capable. You know, we talked about social media and the TV as well, how often these games are broadcast. What we're doing right now wasn't available when I was 10 years old. I didn't get to see this. I only got to see the Women's College World Series, but now there's so much availability. It's such an inspiration to the next generation of softball players and of girls that are coming up.
That's why these television numbers continue to just go meteoric.
I think it's such a great thing for the sport, and you see that across the board. We talked about the Caitlin Clark effect and what it's done for women's basketball, softball, volleyball, the same, and all you need to know is that the numbers, not just the viewership, but the attendance numbers, continue to rise like crazy.
And what it's done is, okay, takes ball 2. I think it's encouraged not just more games on platforms, linear television and whatnot, but now higher profile slots, primetime, weekends, ABC, not just SEC, ESPN, whatnot. And that one falls down and in. And with every opportunity to grow, women's sports is not just taking it, but propel themselves forward.
Leaps and bounds. You're right about the time slots and then the pro leagues as well. That's a offshoot of what we've seen as well, because that didn't used to exist either.
Exactly. 3-0 the count. It's in there for a strike. So Caitlin Clark, first WNBA game tonight, exhibition, sellout crowd.
No doubt.
Away we go. She took about 3 days off, and then it's right back into the next challenge and next league.
It's probably the most time she's had off in a few years.
Bases empty, 2 outs in the 4th inning. Linestock gets a ground ball to third. Gamble's going to get to show off her arm, which she does. So the crowd may cheer. Linestock doesn't hear it, but she's pumping her teammates up as we go to play a regular season series at her former stop. Now she'll go back for the tournament.
And I'd have to believe that Tennessee, based on their body of work, is the far and away favorite to repeat this year. The Lady Vols in the midst of their best streak in program history in terms of Series 1, which is crazy when you think about all the good teams that have gone through.
Alice is going to take ball 2. She just came to the plate with her walk-up music, the Notorious B.I.G., Big Papa. And
it's a good one.
She brings the swagger and the confidence. Courtney Deifel said she doesn't think anybody's going to get her out. And then she added she really does think she's going to get a hit every single time. Bria's talked about kind of some struggles in recent weeks, and, you know, her batting average is on pace to be by far the best in her career. But teams have pitched her. I mean, they've come in under the elbows. They've gone off that outside corner. They've tried to see if she would chase to expand the zone because they don't want her to get one big swing that might beat them, which she's done, by the way, 48 times in her career. Even that pitch right on the outside corner, well placed.
Yeah, big swing, just pulled open the front side. Just a smidge, but Bri Ellis, you know, it's respect. When you perform in that capacity, it's respect to have opposing pitchers pitch you in the way that they have here in the second half of this conference season.
on a winless day, anything she makes good contact with and keeps fair will go out of the park. Those 48 home runs are the most nationally by a player who's a junior or younger. So anybody her age does not have more. And oftentimes we see the wind blowing in. Not today. You get it. It might just climb and escape. And Arkansas could use a run, down 1-0, but Ellis will take her walk instead. So, you know, in a situation, there's times you want her swinging the bat, but down a run, leadoff hitter, you don't mind at all a base runner against Sparks, who had retired. Well, she had retired 7 straight.
And that's one of the things that impresses me about Ellis is a lot of times you'll see power hitters that haven't had, you know, that continued success, or the numbers have tailed off a little bit.
What it says about playing for Courtney Deifel is that Coach Deifel reminds her on a daily basis, it's not the end of the world if I'm not perfect. And I think that does take a little bit of pressure off you, too, when you are a thinker.
I agree. And also, you know, players that play at this level, they have been pretty much perfect without having to try that hard for the majority of their career. So when they struggle a little bit, a lot of times it can be a little bit of an internal crisis.
Halverson singled in her only at bat. Going to pop one up into center. And Lassiter gliding in will get there to make the catch. So a quick first out after the walk to Ellis. And here is Hannah Gamble. And she flew out almost to the wall and left, where Plum was able to make the catch another 3 or 4 feet. She would have had a 3-run home.
This game is a game of inches, game of feet, and you think about if Gamble had gotten it or the wind was blowing, how different this game would feel here in the bottom of the 4th.
Gamble hammers one foul outside of third base. Senior Day will be moved up to tomorrow rather than Sunday, and it's one less day. You can throw that uniform on at home. I think it also magnifies the importance for Arkansas of being able to be in that regional hosting roulette wheel of the top 16 teams. You know, last year they knew they were going to play the conference tournament at home, Dorian, and then pretty confident they would host a regional. Well, now the conference tournament's at Auburn. You're on that, I don't know if bubble's the right word. I think
We'll call it cusp.
Cusp, that's a great word. Cusp of being in the top 16. It always helps when you can have senior day, but you know you still have more opportunities to play at Bogle. 2 strike pitches outside.
You and I were talking before the broadcast. It's why there's still business left to take care of for Arkansas. You never want to leave it up to anyone else's hands. You want to take care of of your own business, put it in your own hands instead of letting someone else be that deciding factor for you.
But Arkansas is yet to score in this game. Gamble's going to take on the inside corner. Strike 3 called. Good pitch by Grace Sparks to get the strikeout. Believe it or not, that is her first K of the game.
That's a great pitch from Sparks. Watch her break this ball right in on the hands. Screwball, tails in, catches that inside corner, and Gamble knew it. There was no question, just turned around, walked to the bench, and as a hitter, that's when you just have to tip your cap.
Kennedy Miller grounded out to short. Back in the second inning. So a leadoff walk for Ellis, but a fly out to center, a strikeout, and Bree Ellis has not moved. Hard hit on the ground to third. They'll go to second for the force. I think they forgot how many outs there were.
Feeling the energy.
I think that's a great way of putting it. As Ryan Starr bats for the first time, she was pinch hit for with the bases loaded back in the second. You have an awareness of your surroundings, even if you are a little bit different than you and I. Starr's going to roll one right to Bree Ellis. She'll retreat to first and touch the bag for the first out. So all Morgan has done this year coming into the SEC for the first time, entering today 10th in the league in earned run average, 11th in innings, 9th in strikeouts, although she's 99 behind Maddie Pinta. She's that far ahead of everybody else.
Well, but, yeah, let's take that with a grain of salt.
And then, you know, the 13 wins as well. So, you know, if you're Morgan and you come into this situation, when you have 1 year, I think that always puts a little bit of pressure on everybody as Lassiter bats because, hey, it's one less go-round. It's one opportunity to make your mark and to pitch in the SEC and all that comes with the new situation and surroundings. But then to thrive, and not just thrive, but at times carry this Arkansas pitching staff because they got into a spell of about a month ago where they didn't have Robin Herron and they didn't have Reese Burline, and it was Morgan, and it was, I mean, she better throw a complete game on Friday and a lot of innings on Sunday, and she carried a burden of the pitching load. Lassiter makes a bid for another hit. She'll drop one in front of Kramer, and she's 2 for 3.
A great effort from Kramer out in left field, and Kramer was even drawn in playing shallow, but Lassiter a little undercuts that ball coming from the left-hand side. She catches the inner half of the bottom part of the ball and just golfs it. Watch where the contact point is. So as she's coming in, she's going to slice it in. She pulls that front hip open and just does enough to flare it into shallow left center.
This is Pone. Couple of hits already. She has 2, Lassiter has 2, so all 4 hits for the Rebels. Top 2 batters in the lineup.
Now credit Lassiter and Pone for doing their jobs. That's what you want out of your first 2 hitters.
Popped up, but Kamenson was playing shallow, so she'll make the catch. Halverson trucked her. The play is made. Everybody seems to be okay, and the ball doesn't squirt loose.
Well, that was nearly a disaster for multiple reasons. One, there is no reason for Kylie Halverson to track that ball down. That is Lauren Kamenson's ball all day, and credit her for holding on to that. But by bringing Halverson all the way over, second base was left exposed. Watch how this defense shifts. Halverson tracks it. That's Kamenson's ball. You have 4 Arkansas players. Nobody was covering the bag, so the Razorbacks very lucky that Lassiter didn't tag in advance.
Would have been an interesting tag. Here's Paige Smith. She's going to wave and miss, but Lassiter will get the stolen base, her 18th.
A good pitch to run on for Lassiter. That is the benefit of running against a drop ball pitcher. It has a bigger tendency to kick away in the dirt, plus it's a more difficult position for Miller to collect and then deliver a non-target throw.
Paige Smith sends one foul off the end of her bat. She's rolled into a double play. They got a run home, but no RBI, of course, and dropped down a sac bunt in the 3rd inning. One of 7 players at Ole Miss to have more than 100 hits and 100 runs batted in her career. She'd like to tack on a few more down the stretch in her 5th year. And Linestock nibbling 0-2 doesn't get the chase.
And Smith closing in on the all-time RBI mark for Ole Miss as well, chasing former teammate Abby Latham. With 8 RBIs, she will move into that overall #1 spot in Rebels program history.
So again, she didn't get the RBI in the first, batting with a runner in scoring position here. She's had a couple of chances. Skies one a mile in the air right at Kramer, who doesn't move and makes the catch to end the inning. So the Rebels strand their 5th runner of the game. Razorbacks.
Runs to him.
Yeah, I would agree. There's a lot of concept about preparing differently for different pitchers or whatnot. Right now, Grace Sparks is kind of giving them some fits. Kramer, Hedgecock, and Kamenson batting. They're in the bottom of the 5th inning.
You talk about Sparks giving Arkansas fits, and she's done it in a way that's unconventional. She's not powering the ball past anyone, not high volume strikeout, but she's moving it just enough that Arkansas can't barrel up the ball solidly.
Liner, well, Christina Foreman tried to make a play.
I thought it was ambitious.
It was a tad.
That's the thing, though, as a former fielder, it never really goes away. You always think that you can catch it even when you don't have your glove on.
At least she's behind the first baseman here.
True.
Where she's not necessarily in play. Kramer flew out to left, her only time in. One more thought on Coach Gasso. There's a soft liner up the middle. Funny spin for Starr, but she's still going to make the play. That ball took a little bit of a right turn on her. But she's a talented defensive player, and if she has just a bit of a bobble, Kramer was going to be safe, but that's a nice effort.
Yeah, great play from Starr. This ball cue balls as it hits the turf. Look at that little extra spin. Starr readjusts her positioning, and she's so intelligent in the way that she fields that ball because she turns her entire body. She doesn't try to turn after she makes contact with the ball. She gets herself set early, and that allows her to deliver the throw.
Hedgecock rolled out to third, her only time in. There's another ground ball to third, handed by Rummel. And there's 2 gone. Well, I better finish this quickly. Right now, Oklahoma's second in the polls. In Arkansas, we talked about them. Could they be in a hosting situation? Might you be 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th? If Oklahoma would be second and Arkansas would be 15th, you know what that would mean for a super regional?
That would mean a head-to-head.
A Gasso
Yep.
reunion in
Yep.
different dugouts?
Mm-hmm. Listen, anyone who has watched the sport over the last handful of years, you want nothing to do with Oklahoma and the Supers.
No. I mean, I'd love to see their new ballpark, but not not in super regional form if I were the Razorbacks, as Cammonson steps in 0 for 1. Look at that. DJ looks exactly the same.
He really does. Getting him started young.
Family business. But right now, what Sparks is trying to do is go through DJ's hitters with 60 pitches and 5 scoreless innings. If she can get a verdict on this pitch to Cammonson. Fouls back the high one.
He hit the nail on the head there. 60 pitches. It's been an efficient outing for Grace Sparks. Arkansas hasn't made her work into any deep counts. She has not gone full to any batter yet in this game. And so Arkansas being almost overly aggressive. They're swinging themselves out of at bats.
Dorian, they've had 1 runner reach second base in the game. That's it. Keep in mind, the first batter singled, the second batter walked, and they still didn't get a runner officially to second base in that sequence.
And you never know how the game would have played out, but you go back to the leadoff single by Reagan Johnson, called out for leaving first early as she was trying to steal, and how that changed the momentum of that first inning.
It does feel like it affected it. Wave and a miss. Cammonson will K. Well done by Grace Sparks, getting the starting assignment today. She's put up 5 zeros in the Rebels.
To see it, we already talked about how the game is growing in popularity, and Ole Miss just making that investment, $32 million in a new facility. It's not just for looks. It goes into recruiting. It's from the ground up. It's such a great thing for the program.
I was wondering what the crowd would look like today with a 3 o'clock start, because it was supposed to be a 6 o'clock game, just one game and a doubleheader. Now the fans, as we know, Razorback fans they've turned out and they're here. Had there been a few hundred fans, though, because of the early start, Ole Miss would have felt at home because they haven't had anybody behind the dugouts or in the stands, only behind them for the entirety of their home season, which is odd to say the least.
I was going
It's
to
like
say
COVID over again.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but to replicate that, you'd have to put everyone out on the berm.
That's right. We put everybody in a 40 by 40 segment out there in the hill. We got an Auburn fan that seems to be misplaced.
2.
One ball, 2 strikes, the count to Furbush, leading off the 6th against Linestock. And that one's down and out. It's going to be special, though, to see that facility. And I think those that are returning really enjoy it because they've had to play through the construction zone this year, so they'll fully appreciate it. Check swing, dribbler, foul again.
I would agree that the players that are returning next year, that's going to be really exciting for them in terms of facility upgrades and something to look forward to. I know Arkansas is in the midst of talking about upgrading their facility sometime in the near future as well. And so, again, Kentucky just put an investment into theirs, and we talked about Oklahoma and their stadium. And so, again, across the board, it's just growing.
Sock to left. Kramer back, turns around, looks up, and that's gone. Furbush hits her 10th home run of the year, and the Rebels' lead extends to 2-0.
No doubt about it, off of the bat of Ansley Furbush. Got a pitch again in the center of the plate, very similar to what Lassiter got in the top of the first inning. Ball did not break, had no movement on it, and when you hang it about belt high, hitters at this level are going to take advantage.
This is an Ole Miss team that doesn't hit a lot of home runs, just their 40th on the year. The pitch was on the corner, but she went out and got it. Didn't quite reach the berm, but over the fence.
And why Furbush was able to drive that ball that's on the outer part of the plate out of the park was the extension. You saw her follow through there and really drive with the back hip. That's a big cut there from De Leon.
So for 2 with a couple of strikeouts. Furbush, she's found that long ball stroke. She was in a stretch not that long ago against Western Kentucky where she had grand slams in back-to-back games. Sometimes you don't get a chance to do that ever in your career, let alone back-to-back games. Well, it's just a solo homer today, but it feels like 4, doesn't it, when it's 2-0?
It definitely feels like it's more than a 2-run game as Linestock hits De Leon. Those 2 runs feel more like 5 or 6.
Because Arkansas, again, has just 2 hits, and they have not pushed any runner to third base yet in the game. And a hit batter puts another runner on.
And credit Ole Miss for taking their opportunities. Drop ball just gets away. Linestock, she's had periods in this game where she's looked sharp and then has had others where she just hasn't been. And in this inning, not sharp. The balls aren't snapping quite as crisply as they were.
Kind of come and gone for some mini stretches within the context of this game. And this is Brady, who's both walked and struck out. Brady also has 13 homers, so she and Furbush have 23 of the team's 40.
It's not often that you see Brady down in the lineup. Someone who has that many home runs typically is at a higher spot in an order, but Brady just very comfortable there in her spot, driving runs in at the bottom of the order.
An advancement with De Leon to second. So a hit batter, then another free base. And now the Ole Miss Rebels can really try and dedicate the rest of this 6th to at least trying to score De Leon to make it 3-0.
Aggressive base running there from De Leon. That ball, as soon as it's in the dirt, she is off and running. That's something that you're taught as a young base runner, especially in high school and in travel ball.
Linestock really needed a K, and she's going to get the K, but Brady is going to reach. Strikeout in a wild pitch, so Brady leads the conference in strikeouts, and Linestock really needed one, but Miller's had a devil of a time on some of those balls that have been in the dirt and kind of bouncing to try and smother them.
It's another drop ball. It's where it's supposed to be. You can see Miller setting up, and it kicks away off the edge of her glove for the second time. Gets up out of the stance, but it almost looked like Miller didn't want to risk a throw down to first, because if it wouldn't have been caught, then there's the chance that Daly...
Got to believe this will be in some type of sacrifice situation. I guess I'd be wrong. She did not square. Now it is the 8 and 9 spots due up next, so as much as they would like to advance a couple of runners, if you're not confident that maybe the 8 and 9 hitters could provide a big swing, maybe you give Rummel a chance.
I still think it's the best chance for a sacrifice in this situation.
Again, she's going to swing away. Drills one to left, back to the fence. It's off the top of the wall. Everybody's going to move up one base as the throw comes home. It clears Miller. She tries to play the carom, and that throw is going to lead to a run. So a single off the top of the fence, and the Rebels were going to have the bases loaded, but the throw cleared Miller, and the ricochet wasn't a kind one.
Things going from bad to worse for Arkansas. De Leon had to hold up at second base because of how hard that ball was hit. Kramer played it perfectly off the wall, delivered a throw into Cammons and at short. De Leon was holding at third. Watch this sequence. It's a great hit, tons of power. The outfield's drawn in. Kramer recognizes that it's over her head, positions herself perfectly, gets the throw in on time, but Cammons, trying to go home, didn't need to. That ball, you need to communicate for that ball to be cut, and this may be where you have the conversation about how Linestock and the communication styles are different, because usually you're...
End of the game, Ole Miss now has a 3-0 lead, and Dorian's still nobody out here in this 6th inning.
Ole Miss in the driver's seat. Arkansas has given them freebies, hit by pitch, an error 2 errors in this inning. And then, Ole Miss, though, credit them taking advantage of their opportunities. That's what you're supposed to do.
McKay will take a strike. Let's go back, though. We analyzed the throw in and why it probably shouldn't have occurred. How about Rummel? We thought she might be sacrificing. She gets to swing away and knocks one off the fence.
Yeah, Rummel got a ball right down the pipe. Outfield was drawn in trying to cut against a run, and so Rummel puts it right in the right spot.
Here's the squeeze, the flip home, and there's going to be not an out at the plate. Scoring is Brady. And Miller was near the dish. She was trying to reach and tag. The question is, did Brady get in under the tag to score the run? As of now, the call is yes. Our plate umpire trying to get his microphone to work, Scott Mayer. Ellis was way down the line from first, went with a glove flip to Miller. The problem for Miller, you barely have time to kind of get in front of the plate where you can have an opportunity to tag before those hands, those feet start to come to the dish. Let's see it again. This will be a pretty good angle.
Yeah, perfect placement down the first base line. You're looking at where the glove for Miller is. So the glove flip, here comes the tag. And right there, yeah, she's going to be safe because that left hand sneaks in on the opposite side of the glove. That's a great slide there.
She's tagging her chest or her shoulder rather than that lead hand.
But the arm's already in.
Well, I think that's going to be safe.
She is safe. I absolutely think this call should stand at the plate. It's going to be harder to see potentially from this angle, but watch where the glove is. You can see how far it goes.
The call is confirmed as safe at the plate. That's Arkansas's first challenge.
All right, let me throw another aspect at you, too. When you're Miller, you're anxious to go get that throw, and then you have that long tag back. If you leave your glove at the plate, that throw will come to you, and you don't have to go get it and come back.
Yes and no, because if you wait for it to get to you, you may not even have the opportunity to make the tag because it would take so long. Instead, she can go get it, but you have to bring that tag right to where your knee pad is in terms of where it is on the plate.
Here's a bunt that's popped up. My goodness, what a sprawling grab by Ellis.
Great hustle from Ellis. Nearly got Hannah Gamble in the head. That's what happens when you have two corners who play as aggressively as Ellis and Gamble do. But Ellis recognizing the importance of that situation. You had to have the out.
Starr pops this bunt up, and watch this crash. This could have been really dangerous. As it was, I think Hannah might have taken a kneecap to her head, and that's why Arkansas's athletic trainer is out to check on her. But then Bree Ellis took the sprawling fall.
Yeah, it did look like Gamble got a knee to the side of the head, and that play is moving so quickly that as a fielder you don't even really have time to call it because the ball's not that high off of the air, so it's just go mode instantly the second that ball is put into play.
That's how Arkansas gets its first out of the inning. Still runners on the corners. This is Lassiter, who's 2 for 3. There's been a homer, a hit batter, a couple of wild pitches in E6, a fielder's choice RBI bunt, a popped up bunt.
Innings had a little bit of everything. But you go back to earlier in the inning and you had the leadoff homer from Furbush, and then you followed that up with a hit by pitch and the drop third strike and the error. And so all of those things accumulating into those extra runs.
Yeah, it has certainly snowballed. So a 4-0 advantage. There's another ball that gets away, though, that provides a free base. So this takes away a force at second or a chance for a double play, and now means a base hit might be worth 2 more runs. The free bases story in this inning have just, again, been too many. Can Herron get a strikeout? She goes up in the zone and does just that.
A big out for Herron, goes to her bread and butter pitch. That's the rise ball, climbs the ladder. Lassiter swings under it. But to revisit that conversation about the free bases, so often we talk about that in terms of giving up first base with a hit by pitch or a walk. But Arkansas has allowed Ole Miss to advance into scoring position multiple times this inning.
And that'll be called a pass ball. Regardless, 2 outs now with 2 runners in scoring position for Pone, who's 2 for 3. Pitcher's pitch there from Robin Herron. 4 runs on 7 hits for the Rebels. No runs on 2 hits, 2 errors for the Razorbacks. Well, for Ole Miss, again, not just from an RPI or a strength of schedule standpoint, just simply accumulating more wins. This would be a huge Game 1 victory now if they're able to hold on. And really everything in this game has belonged to the Rebels.
Ole Miss grabbed the momentum with the first pitch of the game and really haven't let go. And, you know, they've given Sparks more than enough run support with the way that she's throwing today.
0-2, chopper to third. Gamble will make that play to first. Then Bree Ellis looked like she got clipped a bit by the runner, but the inning ends mercifully for the Razorbacks. Ole Miss tacks on 3 runs. That was quite an adventure from the head hog on her 5 seniors throughout this doubleheader. Here's Johnson. She will bunt. Maybe not quite enough in front of the plate. She's called out at first base. Brody from behind the plate showed off her arm, and Arkansas does not get a much-needed base runner.
What an absolute bullet from Brady to De Leon to get Johnson by maybe a half a step. That ball did not clear the plate by much. Johnson puts it right down. That bare hand is the difference. And that is such a close play, but Brady able to get it as she puts the bare hand down and spins it into the ground. That's what enabled her to get the correct grip to give that throw.
So this is Carter, who Courtney Deifel was talking about. 0 for 1 with the walk. And, you know, it was such a tough situation coming in because just as it is with Linestock, you've got 1 year to make your mark. And it's also your last year. And I think sometimes people might be reluctant to talk about going from one conference to another. I'm not. I'm a Big Ten guy. Listen, it's a different world going from Iowa to Arkansas. Maybe not every single game, but over the course of a season facing the competition, the pitching that they do, it's different. And I think Nia's hit maybe 7 or 8 balls in games we've called that off the bat I'm thinking that's a hit, and the shortstop makes a great play. The third baseman has a strong arm. The second baseman makes a nice flip that might have been hits in a different league that aren't hits here.
And certainly don't take anything away from the Big Ten because they're a tremendous league. But the SEC has some of the best players in the country, and I think you're right. Carter was second in the league last year in total hits, speaking about the Big Ten. And we saw it a little bit last year with Christina Foreman coming over from the ACC. She struggled a bit to make that conversion, and a lot of times it's the different style of play, but also you want to prove that you belong, and so you press a little bit more.
I mean, she had 101 hits last year, hit 479, and maybe when you don't get off to that blazing start, you press a little bit, teams make plays on you. That's a fly ball in the air to right, and McKay will make the catch for the second out. Arkansas still not advanced a runner to third in this game. She's been playing better as of late, but right now Arkansas needs base runners, and they haven't been able to get many at all against Grace Sparks.
By my count, only 4 base runners all day. Bree Ellis has been on twice via fielder's choice and a walk.
And here she is. Still can't quite get over the top of this inning. In a frame where almost nothing went right defensively for Arkansas, Ellis made a catch that she was on a full sprint and nearly collided with Gamble to get an out.
And I think the fact that she nearly collided with Hannah Gamble takes a little bit away from just how good that play was, because she was full dead sprint on. That ball is so tough to come up with.
Hammered but foul.
And typically you don't see first basemen make those types of plays. Typically, I would say 99 out of 100 times, that's going to be a third baseman's ball all day long, because as a third baseman, you're drawn in a little bit more. You have usually a better angle. First baseman has to be back to protect the bag. So Ellis coming out of nowhere, fantastic job tracking that ball down.
She almost made that play with the field and the flip where Brady was safe at the plate, which was a big run. Grace Sparks trying to make all this conversation irrelevant if she keeps getting outs.
To close that thought on Ellis, we talk so much about what she's capable of inside the box. I don't think she gets enough credit for the type of fielder that she is.
No, I would agree. We've seen a few of those elements on display. 2-1 the count, the pitch. Outside ball 3.
That's a good take. You can see Ellis's philosophy there in the way that she took that ball. That's a yes, yes, no approach. She starts because she has that mentality that I'm going to get a hit on every single pitch, but as soon as she recognizes that it's not going to be in the zone, it's an immediate no.
And quite honestly, if I'm Sparks, I don't care if I walk her. That's a good pitch for strike 2. With 2 outs and the base is empty, I will work that outside corner on you all day. And if I walk you, I walk you.
I agree with that.
Count's gone full. That's strike 3. Inside corner. She had gone away. She decided to come in and gets the strikeout.
It's a game hitting over 300.
I would say that's probably not uncommon of a team that's 5-16. You know, you might put it all together once a weekend and then lose 2 of 3. So for Arkansas, the question is, will that be the one Rebels game, or will this propel them forward? Because for Ole Miss now, if they win this game at 6-16 in the SEC, they will have won 3 straight.
Going back over the last 10 games, should they win this one, that would push them to 7-3 over their last 10. You pick up the series win over Auburn. Now you have a chance to potentially pick up both of its twin bill today and take the series against Arkansas.
It's Paige Smith. He's 0 for 2, I should say, with a sacrifice.
I'll tell you, Brett, Ole Miss not playing like a team that doesn't deserve to be in the NCAA tournament from what I've seen today.
Yeah, I think that's the case, and that's what Coach Traxel wants. I mean, you want your team laying it all on the line for however many games are left to try and keep bumping up those metrics and those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Counts full now from Cammonson to Paige Smith, another California native.
We can potentially save this conversation for the second game, but there's been a larger conversation amongst SEC coaches this year about the strike zone in the conference.
Ground ball into left for a base hit. So Paige Smith gets her 41st hit of the year. You could throw it out there right now. As far as too big, too small, where are you going?
That it's migrating down. So I just did a game last weekend between Kentucky and South Carolina, and I've heard this from other coaches as well, about how the top half of the zone is kind of gone. It stops. You're not getting the sternum strike called. It's really kind of stopping more at the belt. You're getting a little bit of an extension on the bottom half, but really that top portion of the zone is gone. By the letter of the law, it's supposed to be armpits to knees, side to side to the plate. It hasn't been that big this year.
I don't know. I think you get above the belt, that's as high as I want to go. But Melvin, meanwhile, is going to pinch run at first. And this is Furbush, who homered to start that crazy 6th.
Back leg, the torque to dig in and drive.
Her 10th home run of the year. A year ago, she had 6, but she also had 9 wins in the circle.
Furbush very much like Hannah Cammonson in that respect. Cammonson will DP. She's played right field as well this year. And so Furbush making herself indisposable, really.
She's also saved 4 games. That one's off the glove of Ellis, and Halverson will pick it up and throw back to get the out. That ball just ricocheted right to Kylie. That's a pretty heads-up play, though, to get that out.
A great job by Halverson staying locked in as that ball squibbed off the edge of the glove. I'm trying to think of an Elvis reference, and I can't. It is escaping me right now.
This is De Leon. It's hit by a pitch last inning.
I think the best I could do is you ain't nothing but a ground ball instead of
Hey, that's not bad. That's pretty good. Instead of a hound dog.
Exactly.
Think about how these two offenses have been so different. Arkansas has just struggled to get any base runners, and it feels like Ole Miss at times they've had nothing but traffic on the bases.
You look back across the course of this game, and Ole Miss has had runners on in every inning but two, and left runners on, rather, in every inning but two. And so this game really has the opportunity to be much more lopsided than it actually is.
Rebels might not mind one more run before Arkansas bats in the bottom of the 7th. We'll take about 45 minutes between games. Be right back at it. Tomorrow's game time, as of now, unchanged. We try and outfool the weather, right and left. That didn't really work so well last weekend for baseball.
I don't pretend to be that smart. I just show up when you guys tell me to show up.
Lifted to left, hit well. Back goes Kramer. That's on the berm and gone. Another home run for the Rebels. De Leon with a 2-run shot at a commanding 6-0 Ole Miss lead.
Ole Miss doing everything right offensively in this game. They are taking advantage of every missed pitch by the Razorbacks hurlers. This is another one that does not break. You're sitting it in the center of the plate, and this time De Leon absolutely crushing it. Look at where this ball is. Again, that is belt high in the middle of the plate. De Leon opens up that front hip, uses that hip drive and torque, that nice big extension follow through to get it out onto the berm.
Yeah, that was not coming back where that pitch was located. So Brady struck out but reached last inning, is 0 for 2 with a walk and a couple of Ks. Big wave and a miss. That is a long swing. You could see where it would generate some power, but also provide some swing and miss.
Well, and this is the time, Brett, that we have the conversation about the doubleheader and putting this game behind you if you're Arkansas, because you don't have until the next day.
Yeah, you've got to be able to flush or reset quickly.
Yeah, so back when I played, we still played the Saturday doubleheader Sunday, and it was very frequent that the momentum from game 1 carried over into game 2. It's not supposed to, but you're human. You can't help but dwell on it a little bit.
High pop-up. Who wants this one? No more collisions. There's been 2 of those already. Ellis will make the catch for the second out. I would say if you're the Rebels, though, you're banking on a little more momentum.
Yeah, you're going, can we go just immediately after this? Do we have to wait for 45 minutes?
Ellis might have been clipped by a base runner earlier. Then she and Gamble had the mini collision, and then Cammonson had the pop-up where Halverson trucked her. And been a little bit off, I would think, all game. This is Rummel. She had a single that was about 2 feet away from going over the fence, off the top of the fence.
Yeah, Ole Miss has put some really good swings on balls today. You had the double from Lassiter to lead off the game, a couple of home runs, and Rummel, an absolute laser that I agree off the bat, it looked like it was going to be a 3-run shot.
I mean, Ole Miss has the 2 homers, but that was a near miss. Two outs in the 7th. Rummel maybe expanding the zone just a bit.
You look at some of the specialty stats, and they really tell the story of why Ole Miss has been so successful today. 4 for 7 in the leadoff position. So you're batting nearly 600 there. And in advancement opportunities, they are 9 for 18
That's
in this
huge.
game. Arkansas is just 1 for 6.
Arkansas has used 3 pitchers. And Cammonson misses outside, 2-2.
A complete role reversal, because typically Ole Miss uses their pitching staff as a full staff. It's not necessarily you rely on one pitcher to go complete game. And in this game, it's been Sparks that's been able to go the distance.
And Arkansas has had just 2 singles. This ball 3. You and I called a 9-inning game a couple of weeks ago on a Friday against Alabama. Arkansas won the game 1-0, even though they did not have a single extra base hit. We didn't have a combined extra base hit in 9 innings. Well, today Arkansas has had just 2 singles, but Ole Miss is, they've been swinging for the long ball. Boy, Cammonson hit that spot over and over, but a little bit down, a little bit out, and ends up walking Rummel.
I'm just trying to be a little bit too fine. A big part of the conversation for Cammonson in the circle this year was working on getting quick outs, ground ball outs, pitching into the zone, and trusting your defense to play behind you.
McKay had an RBI and a sacrifice on a bunt in the 6th inning where Ellis flipped home and Miller didn't make the tag quickly enough. I think, though, by bringing Cammonson into this inning, maybe it's a pretty good indication that Herron would start game 2. I don't know if you wanted her to have to throw another 20-25 pitches before loading up to start the nightcap.
I would agree with that. I think Herron has to start in game 2 because you're in danger of potentially dropping the series today if you don't win. And Herron pitched an absolute gem on Tuesday night at Central Arkansas. 9 strikeouts, gave up just 2 hits. Different level of caliber team, but Herron looked very dialed in the circle.
And that was coming off an outing where she really fought her control and command at LSU.
It's two sides of the same coin with what we were talking about with Linestock and just how it differs from day to day.
2-1 to McKay. Fouled back.
And I would have to imagine for Ole Miss, they're going to put Lopez in the circle in game number 2. She was stellar last weekend against Auburn, picked up a pair of wins. She is a really difficult challenge for opposing batters to handle. We'll talk about that if she does indeed get the start.
I mean, for an Arkansas team that's been a little bit off balance, facing her change-ups might be a real big test, and that one's shanked foul.
But again, there's a reason why you and I sit up here and not down there, so we'll see what happens.
I'd say we have a better view, but at times we can't see home plate. But
True, true.
Been a long battle just to get 3 outs this inning for the Razorbacks. Lefty pitcher will handle that one. She threw a fastball to Ellis. And the inning ends, but Dorian some insurance on the home run.
Errol hasn't been squared up yet, with the exception of maybe that fly out from Hannah Gamble back in the bottom of the 1st.
Yeah, that was the bullet that she kind of dodged, so to speak. Halverson has one of the 2 singles. Arkansas has not had a runner to third base in the game. We'll call Sparks a Houston area girl from Crosby. You're getting out in the country, though. You're on the outskirts of Houston.
Feels like it's hard to have outskirts of Houston when it feels like Houston extends
Yeah.
an hour in all directions.
You got to travel a long ways, but you'll get there eventually. Her future plans, she has 2 of them. She wants to be a softball pitching coach or a sports broadcaster. Halverson will take Ian. Did that hit or it did? It got her. Base runner for the Razorbacks, and they need more of those.
Well, if you're Arkansas, you'll take a base runner any way you can. Screwball clips Halverson, and you see the late break here as it just runs right in, clips, it looks like the back thigh of Halverson.
As I say often, doesn't have to hurt to count.
Well, it never feels good. The important thing if you're the Razorbacks here, you have to remember that you can't get 6 runs with 1 swing.
No, but it really does, I think, magnify the importance of that home run from De Leon at the top of this inning.
Oh, I would agree. You know, the extra insurance, and that's why it's so important to keep making the most of those opportunities. And I sound like a broken record, but it's just because of the fact that these teams can put up crooked numbers all the time.
Halverson, one of the seniors, playing in her last weekend. You know, with Senior Day supposed to be on Sunday, I kind of sought her out and said, hey, are all your family members going to be able to make it? She said, well, my stepdad was supposed to be here only on Sunday, so he had something Saturday. So that gets thrown up into the air, and then you got to make a madcap drive from Sioux Falls here because you don't want to miss it. And as someone who's gone through 2 Senior Days and had them both jacked up, I empathize with the family members who are trying to figure this all out.
And didn't you have to make a drive from Sioux Falls a few years ago for the WNIT?
I did.
Why do I remember that?
Well, ironically, that was the easier of my recent WNIT travel stories. 1-1 to Gamble. That's a pretty good pitch for a strike, too. Got to see the falls, though, in Sioux Falls, right? I mean, you can't go to Sioux Falls and not see the falls.
I will take your word for it. I've never been.
I wanted to see the Pentagon, the basketball arena, but that was closed. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Sparks has been really good, and she gets Gamble to chase a high one.
The first time today that we've really seen Sparks climb the ladder with the rise ball. She hasn't needed it. Gets Gamble being extra aggressive. You see how well Sparks drops underneath that pitch and creates that tight upspin. And Gamble just hunting.
So 2 of Grace Sparks' 4 strikeouts have been Gamble. This is Kennedy Miller. She's 0 for 2. Chopper to third. Handled nicely by Rummel. Throws to second for the force and made it somewhat close at first. That ball took a little funny bounce on her at third, and she used her hands to kind of stab at it and come up with it.
I've been so impressed with the way that Ole Miss has fielded, because there have been a couple of balls today that have been put in play by Arkansas that have had that weird kind of cue ball spin.
Yep.
But Ole Miss has stayed down on the ball. Again, look at how this comes off the bat. That little in-between hop is really difficult to field as a former third baseman, I can tell you. But what Ole Miss is doing is they're looking the ball all the way into the glove. They're very sure-handed, and they're playing with a ton of confidence out in the field.
That's why hands are so important for a third baseman. For a shortstop second baseman, you can use your feet to kind of get the hop you want. More reactionary at third, and here's Riley Cloud pinch hitting for Kramer. But you knew all about that.
I might have. I can guarantee you I definitely could not move my feet as fast now as I could then, or my reaction time.
We talk about shortstops, though, and, you know, hands is important, yes. Footwork's more important. How about Cloud with a base hit to left field? Just Arkansas's 3rd of the game.
You're going to talk about important. Riley Cloud coming through with an important hit to extend the game. Not trying to do too much. Got a pitch. Middle. I got finished.
If Bree Ellis would kick you in the head, would
well, no, I'd be done. I would stay down. We'd be done.
That would be enough. Well, here's Kamenson. Batting for the first time. Hannah's had some better swings as of late. There was a time where I thought maybe Kramer had kind of pulled away a bulk of those at bats back, or Carter from Hannah, but she went 2 for 4 against UCA, 2 for 4 in the series against LSU. Good pitch. Arkansas in danger of being shut out 6-0. Right back to the circle. There's a bobble and out at first. Thought for a second Sparks might have bobbled that a second time, and that was going to cost her, but she can smile and got to believe this will be in some type of sacrifice situation. I guess I'd be wrong. She did not square. Now, it is the 8 and 9 spots due up next, so as much as they would like to advance a couple of runners, if you're not confident that maybe the 8 and 9 hitters could provide a big swing, maybe you give Rummel a chance.
I still think it's the best chance for a sacrifice in this situation.
Again, she's going to swing away. Drills one to left. Back to the fence. It's off the top of the wall. Everybody's going to move up one base as the throw comes home. It clears Miller. She tries to play the carom, and that throw is going to lead to a run. So a single off the top of the fence, and the Rebels were going to have the bases loaded, but the throw cleared Miller, and the ricochet wasn't a kind one.
Things going from bad to worse for Arkansas. DeLeon had to hold up at second base because of how hard that ball was hit. Kramer played it perfectly off the wall, delivered a throw into Camenzind at short. DeLeon was holding at third. Watch this sequence. It's a great hit, tons of power. The outfield's drawn in. Kramer recognizes that it's over her head, positions herself perfectly, gets the throw in on time, but Camenzind trying to go home didn't need to. That ball, you need to communicate for that ball to be cut, and this may be where you have the conversation about how line stock and the communication styles are different, because usually you're